I first want to welcome everybody to UnitedMasters webinar, How Independent Artists Can Leverage Audiomack. My name is Ogden Payne, and we have an incredibly special guest in Brian Zisook. Z, thank you so much for being here. And I think before we get started, I'll go ahead and just kind of let you introduce yourself, kind of everything that you do and things that you've done in the past.
Ogden, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to join you. You pronounced my full name correctly, and so next time we're in the same city, drinks are on me.
Absolutely.
So for those of you who don't know, as Ogden said, I am Brian Zisook. Everybody calls me Z because it's really hard to screw up one letter. I am the Vice President of Content Operations and Artist Services at Audiomack, and one of 5 co-founders of our company. Also one of the co-founders of DJ Booth, which is a long-form digital music magazine that was launched in 2003. So suffice to say, I have been in and around the music industry for the last 18 years plus. And I picked up a few things along the way. And I think as I pick up things, I just lose hair. And so that's where we're at right now. I have a lot of knowledge and no hair.
Well, that's incredible, man. Well, thank you again for being here. I think before we kind of dive into everything, just to kind of set the stage, set a little bit of context. I think, there are 3 key components that we really kind of want to touch on regarding Audiomack's platform, right? And, I think the first is really just understanding how to organize your release for the platform. The second is really just kind of figuring out how to bolster the immediate impact of a release. And then the third is to really just understand how to keep momentum going after the release on the platform as well. So, before we dive into all these components, I really think the first question that I have for you is just understanding what Audiomack prides itself on, right? Like, what are kind of the value propositions that you guys have versus the other DSPs that are out there, understanding how creators get paid, just kind of setting that whole scene for this landscape?
Well, that's a great question. So what makes us different and unique is that I believe we focus on 2 core tenets that none of the other platforms or services in our space really have put a lot of time and attention into. The first is artist education, and the second is artist discovery. So unlike full catalog services such as Spotify or Apple Music, we don't have an identical, 70 million tracks on our service. We have more than 170 content partnerships, so music licensing agreements with record labels and distributors and aggregators, but these are not full catalogs. And so it gives a lot of the independent community a much better opportunity to be seen and heard, knowing that real estate is extremely valuable, and there's in upwards of 60,000 new songs released every day across all DSPs. And then as far as education is concerned, we want the Audiomack name and brand to be synonymous with trust. There is very little trust that a lot of the independent community has in the music industry. This legacy industry that by and large over decades has taken advantage of artists who are naive and ignorant and are unknowing. And so we want to be a beacon of trust. And that means producing content that it provides educational resources. So that means running interviews, not only with artists and producers and songwriters, but also with account managers and project managers and accountants and lawyers and A&Rs and distributors and record executives, and have all of these key cogs in this business impart their wisdom on our community, so that even if you're an artist who doesn't care about making your music available on Audiomack, and you should, at least you know us to be a platform that is synonymous with trust. And when we produce content, you can believe in it, abide by it, and take it to the bank.
Yeah. No, I completely understand and completely respect that. And I think to kind of get into the weeds a little deeper, right? For the artists who are saying, okay, I have this song, I haven't released it yet, I'm kind of in my pre-release stage, trying to organize everything before this release. In your opinion, how do artists set themselves up for success on Audiomack prior to their release? I mean, what is, I guess, kind of, and maybe there's some integration between UnitedMasters and Audiomack, but I mean, what features are there? What just kind of is available as far as resources pre-release that you guys have that may not be, widely known yet?
Sure. So if you are an artist or creator and you use UnitedMasters, we have a direct feed from UnitedMasters. And we're actually actively working on a incredible integration so that artists can basically connect their UnitedMasters accounts directly to their Audiomack account. For those of you who are watching who do not currently use UnitedMasters for your distribution services, and you're not with a distributor, Audiomack, as far as I know, is the only platform of its kind that allows you to sign up directly. We do not charge you a dime. So I'm talking unlimited capacity for storage, access to analytics through our creator dashboard without having to pay a monthly or yearly fee, and distribute directly to the platform, and then apply for the opportunity to become authenticated and subsequently monetize your work, meaning you can generate royalties for your streams on Audiomack. In terms of preparation, if you are delivering through what we call feed partner, so a distributor, you're going to want to make sure that you have access to your Audiomack account, because if you didn't already have an existing account, we created one for you when your music was delivered. And so if you'd like to claim your account, all you need to do is reach out to us, basically provide some information to confirm you are who you say that you are, and we would dispatch a claim code to you, which would give you access to your account. There's a lot of value in having access to your account. First, you have access to your creator dashboard. And so you can find out, where are your plays coming from? Are they coming from our trending section or search? Are they coming from a playlist? You can also find out where in the world your plays are literally coming from. We'll show you on a map where music is being played by country. You can also see who your top listeners are, and you can follow them back on the platform. Outside of the creator dashboard, by having access to your account, you can also engage with and interact with your fans by leaving comments when they comment on your songs or albums. In terms of scheduling releases, I recommend scheduling a title as far in advance as possible. Now, if you're working through a distributor, they might not deliver the title until a week or maybe 2 weeks prior to the actual release. But if you are manually uploading that title to your account, as soon as that song or album is fully mixed and mastered, it's ready to go, you can upload it to your profile and then schedule it for a future date. Once that's done, you can create a private promo link. That's great for sharing amongst family and friends. You have a publicist working on your behalf. They can disseminate that link to different press outlets so that they can preview your material. And so I encourage everyone, if they have an account, play around with it. Visit your creator dashboard, see everything that we offer. You're not going to break anything, I promise you. And if you are an artist who uses a distributor like UnitedMasters and you don't currently have access to your account, simply request access. We'll dispatch that claim code, and then you'll be able to have the account that is in your name featuring your music, which only makes sense.
100%. And, kind of off of that, I'm really curious in your opinion, and you kind of touched on it a bit, but, say an artist, they have, or maybe it's a team, they have a release ready. What should they have honestly set in stone before they even decide to distribute through Audiomack? I mean, is there something that they should be, is there some sort of like just platform, like with social media, as far as, making sure everything's ready there before they reach out to you guys? If they have any sort of questions before their release comes, what should they have in place before that outreach happens to you guys?
Well, that's another great question. And so you want to make sure that your profile is super clean. That means having a brand new profile photo. So if it's been a while since you took new press or publicity photos, be a great time to take those. I know a lot of people hear that and they go, well, I can't afford a photographer. I mean, with cell phone technology, with the cameras, I mean, you could take a very sharp photo yourself on your cell phone, you know, throw it through a filter, make it look nice and sexy, throw that bad boy in there. So you want a new profile photo of you. You're going to want to make sure to flesh out your whole profile on the platform. That includes a short bio and links to all of your social media. Just as in terms of best practice, you want to make sure that the slug, meaning the tail end of all of these URLs, is identical. This is so that if someone's looking for you in a particular place and they already know what the URL is somewhere else, they could just guess it and they'll be right. And so, for instance, and I'm not a big social media guy outside of Twitter, but if I had a YouTube channel and an Instagram account in addition to my Twitter, I would want to make sure that the slug is uniform across all of these. So on Twitter, I'm at DJ Booth EIC. And so I would want to set up all these other accounts also ending in DJ Booth EIC. Similarly, with Audiomack, I would want my Audiomack slug to end in DJ Booth EIC. If you notice that a slug is unavailable on our platform and you'd like to request it, we'd be happy to review it to see, is the person who currently has that slug active on the platform? And if not, we will replace it for you and update it. All the things that I just mentioned, do that across all your platforms, not just Audiomack. So that same pub photo that you updated on Audiomack, throw that bad boy on your Twitter account and your Instagram and your Facebook and your YouTube. Make sure links are good across all these platforms and profiles. And then finally, make sure that you have contact information present everywhere. Even if you open up your DMs on social media, not everybody feels comfortable sending a direct message. I'm 37 and I'm like borderline, I don't know if that's like the right approach. I prefer email. So throw up a contact email in all of your bios. It doesn't have to be you. It could be a publicist or a manager or a handler, just some additional way someone can easily get a hold of you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Okay, and so I say we pretty much checked off the pre-release. I think we hit the nail on the head there. Moving into the release, okay, it's release day, it's release week, whatever it is, right? Just kind of saying, how do I increase the impact for this release? And I think, especially in this day and age, I think there's a heavy emphasis on playlists, right? And so I'm curious for you guys, just understanding what are some of the differences between, you know, submitting for trending consideration on Audiomack versus pitching to editorial playlists on other platforms, and really how much should artists really focus on these placements with Audiomack?
All great questions. You're 3 for 3 so far.
I'll take that.
And so, yeah, to say that editorial consideration is not important would be untrue. It obviously is. But if you're at the point in your career where you're still building, I think the emphasis should be on creating the best possible product you can. And so just because there are avenues to submit your work for trending consideration or playlisting doesn't mean that every single release that you have should be submitted. I think it's important to recognize that when you're talking about curators and people who work in editorial, their first impression might be a lasting one. And so you always want to make sure that what you're submitting is you putting your best artistic foot forward. So if you're not 100% sold on a new release, that's not to say that you shouldn't put it out into the world, but you should absolutely think twice as far as submission. Now, in terms of best practice with our platform, because I don't feel comfortable speaking on other platforms, artists can, upon scheduling or release, submit for trending. And the only barrier to entry there is that your account is authenticated. In order to receive an authentication badge, which is the gray badge, you need to apply for authentication. It's a super simple process. All you need is at least 2 uploads of your original work on your account and 25 followers over the past year. Once you do that, we can authenticate your account. And then once you're authenticated, you have the ability to submit for trending. Anyone can submit for playlist consideration, and you can find out more about how to submit for trending and playlisting by going to Audiomack World. We have a subsection there, which is called Audiomack for Artists, and we publish best practices and tutorials and artist-friendly recommendations on the service. I hope I answered your question. I know that was
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Information overload.
No, that was great, because actually off of that question, or really off of that answer, I would really like to understand what goes into Audiomack's curation philosophy off of these playlists, right? I mean, is there like a thought process or yeah, I guess like a philosophy overarching that you guys have when you're putting these things together?
Yeah, is your shit good? I think it should start right there. I think it's important to contextualize that, right? So, obviously most music consumers in today's day and age are doing their consuming from their cell phone. And as everyone knows, even if you have the largest screen possible, there is a limited amount of real estate on a cell phone. You can only put so much information, in a device that's the size of your hand. And so we take curation very seriously, because where something is placed and how long it stays there matters a great deal. In terms of the makeup of our team, I think it's really important to highlight that unlike other platforms that are made up of a lot of business people, the core of Audiomack are employees who come from creative and musical backgrounds. Our VP of product is an artist. One of our data scientists is an artist. Our creative director is a producer. We have 3 full-time employees who are photographers. And so this platform was created, built, engineered, and is constantly being improved by people who themselves use it. And as artists understand what it's like to be in the creator's shoes and need all of these things at their disposal.
100%. 100%. And then I think there's, and you may have touched on it a little bit earlier, but embeds, right? What should artists really be doing with embeds, and how do these kind of contribute to their overall online presence?
Sure. So, we're obviously pretty far removed from the height of the blog era, which, for all intents and purposes ended at about 2012, 2013. But there still is value in getting your name in as many places as possible with positive coverage, affirmation that your work is to be checked out. And so whether you're serving as your own publicist or you're at a stage in your career where you've hired a publicist to represent you, circulating an Audiomack embed to outlets, blogs, and platforms who you're seeking coverage from, it certainly doesn't hurt to provide them with the embed code. Should they choose to feature you, they can easily add that into the post. And so your music would be available to stream in that location, as opposed to relying on someone to click a link and then head over. I think from a user perspective, it's one additional place where you can log streams, or I should say potential streams, so that when you're going through your analytics in your creator dashboard, we have a breakdown of exactly where all of your plays are coming from. And so embeds are one of those categories, just like trending, playlists, search, embed. And so if you do get a blog placement, you're able to very quickly see how many plays that placement actually generated for you natively on that platform.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so 2 out of 3 that we've already knocked out. I think, obviously we've done
We're moving.
pre-release. Yeah, we're moving. We're moving. So we've done pre-release. We've done kind of during the release week of, maybe day of. I think probably the most important aspect to focus on is momentum after the release, right? Just making sure that there's kind of a long tail. And I'm really curious for you, based on the types of stats that Audiomack displays, how can artists kind of take that engagement and measure that and then use it to kind of continue to build their fan base beyond just the initial release?
Another great question. You're batting 1,000, Ogden. So I think far too many artists, and this goes for unsigned, developmental, and emerging artists, as well as artists who are even signed to, indie and major label deals. They're predominantly focused on pre-release marketing, and they put very few eggs in the okay, it's out now, what do I do post-release basket. And so if you're utilizing the creator dashboard effectively, you're able to track your plays over time. And for most artists, you're going to see a sharp spike as soon as the release happens, and then a gradual decline thereafter, assuming you did not get an editorial placement on a super popular playlist. And so from that regard, I think it's important to review how your releases are doing days after and weeks after to determine, am I putting this link everywhere it should be? So did I add it to my smart URL or link tree, which is essentially a service where you can take every streaming service link and put it in one place, promote that link on social media so that when any fan finds it, they can choose where to stream depending on wherever they might have a subscription or whatever their preferred streaming service is. So that's a great reminder. You're also going to want to put that link tree or smart URL in a bio wherever you have an account. So social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Going further down the creator dashboard, we show a map of the world, and it'll show you where in the world streams are coming from. Now, I know for most artists, this is a pain point. They haven't been able to tour much over the past year plus because of COVID. But as we're slowly removing ourselves from that period of time, most artists who were previously touring are going to want to go back out on the road. And so seeing where your streams come from will give you an idea of where you might want to book shows. And if you've hired a booking agent to represent you, this is critical data for them. And so if your top 5 US cities are Chicago, New York, Miami, Atlanta, and Dallas, that's great insight into the next time you look to book a tour, whether it's a 5-city tour or a 20, you're going to want to make sure to prioritize those 5 cities. I could go on and on and on, but that's a good starting point, I think.
Yeah, no, that's an incredible starting point, because I think off of that, I would love to, just in your experience, understand maybe what are some of the things that artists have done wrong with data, or maybe what they're missing out on, or, just kind of things that it's like, oh man, if they had just done this, and this with the data that they had, they could have maybe leveraged something a little bit further. I'm curious in your experience what you might have seen.
Yeah, that's another great question. I think the most important step here is just being aware that the data is available to you, right? Something that we're really excited about that I'm going to tease here, because why not? We are on the verge of unleashing an Audiomack Creators app. So previously, if you wanted to review your creator dashboard or upload new content, log into your account, you had to do so from the mobile web or from desktop. And we live in an app world now. And so the Audiomack for Creators app will allow our creative community to very easily access their Audiomack account and do all the things that we've been talking about on this webinar through the confines of a mobile app that was specifically engineered to provide them with ease of upload and ease of review of data. So shout out to Charlie Kaplan, who's the VP of product at Audiomack. They've been working on this for a very long time. and I cannot wait for it to be out. In terms of things that I see all the time, obviously there's a lot of music coming out every day, but because, 8 years ago or so, the world united and decided that Friday was going to be new music release day. There's this misconception that you have to release store turn Thursday into Friday. I have been encouraging artists for the longest time. If you are not signed to a major label and you do not have designs on charting on the Hot 100 or Billboard 200 opening week, there's no reason you need to release your music, album or song, Thursday into Friday. I recommend releasing off cycle. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't like Monday because people are sort of like getting their bearings after the weekend. But by releasing on Friday, you're just competing with so many other artists and so many other non-music on-demand options. People have a different agenda over the weekend. And then by Monday, whatever you pumped into marketing that release, it's as good as if it was never out. And everybody just starts fresh for the next week. So one question that comes up all the time is, if I release on Tuesday or Wednesday, does that disqualify me for getting on an editorial playlist that's updated on Fridays? And the answer to that question is no. On Audiomack, we actually encourage artists to release off cycle. It will improve the likelihood that they get selected for trending in global if they release off cycle. Because again, you're just competing with far fewer artists Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday than you are on Friday.
Makes total sense. Okay. And honestly, my last question before we hop into the audience Q&A is a little bit more of kind of like an overarching question. And, I'm curious if, say there's an independent artist who calls Z up and he says, hey man, I'm about to release this song, or I'm about to, kind of go on this rollout campaign. What is the advice, one piece of advice that you give an artist the day before they decide to release their music out into the world?
Well, first of all, I'm going to want to know how they got my phone number. And I'm going to strongly recommend that next time around they email me, because that will ensure that I get back to them as quickly as possible. But what I would tell them is what is the plan, right? Far too many artists have no plan. And I guess you could say the plan is, I'm just going to throw it out there. And what ends up happening is there's no story being told. So you're just putting music out into the world, hoping that it sticks. But that's the same behavior as millions of your creative peers. And so there needs to be a plan before you release something for what's going to happen next. If this song gets on an editorial playlist and I start getting calls about it, do I have another in the chamber? Is there a possibility that I can put together a video for this song quickly if it starts to take off? Very few artists are prepared for when something goes viral or they get a huge playlist look. There's also not enough consideration put into digital marketing. And if no one knows that you released music, it's going to be very hard, even for fans of yours, to tap in. And so you should definitely earmark a small piece of whatever artist budget you're working with and allocate those funds for ads on Instagram or on YouTube. It doesn't have to be a large dollar amount either. You could start low. Throw $50 out and see what that return gets you on Instagram or Facebook. And then look at the data after your campaign comes to an end and determine whether or not you want to spend more next time. Quick word of advice there is, you're not going to make back on a campaign what you spent to make the music. You're not going to generate in royalties immediately what you're spending on these campaigns, but you're playing the long game, hopefully. And so the goal is, over time, to create awareness. And these slow drips of, hey, I exist and I make music and I want you to listen to it, hopefully over time, someone sees your name enough and your releases in a variety of places that they finally tune in. And then when they do, they're impressed with what they hear and that you've got them long term.
Makes 100% sense. Z, thank you so much, man. I think this wraps up kind of like our portion of the webinar. I think now we can probably hop into audience Q&A. Let me see. I think I see. Let me see. Okay, here's one. I'm a DJ and I manage an artist. After campaigning for more Audiomack usage and playlisting for a month, my artist has seen two-thirds of his EP that released that week trending, and I've been discovering a bunch of great artists. Love the community. Okay, great. That's awesome.
Oh, well, thank you.
Awesome. How does an artist that has had success on Audiomack further their relationship with them? Example, Trap Symphony, Audiomack World Write-Ups, that whole thing.
Great question. And so, a lot of platforms, the people who make these decisions, who they cover, who they write about, who they select for trending, who they playlist, the people behind the scenes, they don't advertise themselves publicly. And so from a creator perspective, you might know of one or two people at these companies, but they're not the only people making these decisions. At Audiomack, everybody is very public. Everyone's very front and center. So all of the Audiomack World write-ups, the authors' names are directly below the headline. You can navigate to their Audiomack profile pages where all of their social media links are present. All of the playlists that we have, all the editorial playlists, the curators, again, are linked up top. And if you click on their names, it'll take you to their Audiomack accounts wherein all of their social media are present. And so I encourage all artists and or their representatives, do your due diligence. Spot the playlists that you think are a fit for your work or the work of your artists. Find out who curates them. And again, this is all public information. Follow those individuals on social media and develop a rapport with them over time. And I think that's certainly one way. In terms of our live performance content series like Trap Symphony or Bless the Booth or Fine Tuned, that's completely editorial discretion. And so, we don't necessarily take pitches for those opportunities, but you don't have to be signed to a major label to get those opportunities. And I think that's really important to say, because a lot of our competitors, if you're not on one of the three major labels, good luck getting that opportunity. For us, whether you have 1,000 fans or 1 million fans, if our team loves your work, that means that you have that chance.
Perfect. Okay, the next question. When should you start promoting a single before it's released?
Depends on how many fans you have. If you have a dedicated base, I think it's really great if you let them know that new music's coming within, 1 to 2 weeks max of it actually being released. I'm a huge fan of doing your marketing and then releasing it immediately. There's just too much going on in the world constantly. There's too many forms of on-demand content available to take people's attention away from you, that if you announce something and then don't immediately deliver on that announcement, you stand to lose out on whatever action you were looking for. In this case, pressing play or playlisting that they might have taken if they had that opportunity. So again, I'm a big fan of make the announcement and then in short order, drop the content and put more of those eggs in your post-release basket, because at that point, critically, the music is out. And so everything that you do can be accompanied by and listen now. No one has to make a note to remember to listen. They don't have to add it to their schedule. They could just tap in right away.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see. So Tuesday through Thursday are ideal release days for artists who are still building. What are some of the ideal release times for Audiomack specifically?
Hey, what up, Zay? Zay follows me on Twitter, always supports all of my Twitter rants and educational content. I appreciate it. Yeah. So again, I don't like Mondays because everyone's getting their bearings after the weekend. Friday, you're competing with way too many other artists and non-music on-demand options. Tuesday through Thursday is the sweet spot. In terms of time, yeah, midnight release, like get it out early. And then if you have an authenticated account on Audiomack, you can submit to trending upon release within 14 days of the actual release. That does not include the time prior to the release if you, let's say, scheduled it on your account in advance. But yeah, there is no effectively bad time, but just as a heads up to the community, during the week, we traditionally update trending en masse late morning Eastern Standard Time. So
good to know. Okay, let's see. First off, thank you for everything, Master Z. As a verified tastemaker, will we get access to and be able to use the Creator app?
If you have an Audiomack account and you are authenticated as a creator, you will have access to the Creator app. That is the short, sweet, and politically correct answer I could give there.
For sure, for sure. Okay. I think that wraps it up for the audience Q&A. Z, you know, I got to say thank you, man. You know, I got to say thank you for your time. This was incredible. It's always great having conversations with you. You know, honestly, if there's anything else that you feel like you want to put out there, please feel free. But other than that, man, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Ogden, thank you so much for having me. I will put out one more gem, as the kids like to say. I think more than ever, the most important thing that you can do as an artist is just be your true, authentic self. Because of social media, I think there's a strong belief that you need to act or look or represent yourself in a very particular way that's going to attract the most amount of eyeballs and produce the most amount of clicks, which will produce the most amount of likes and follows. And then you find yourself at some point down the road so far removed from who you are that you don't even recognize yourself anymore. More now than ever, because there are just so many options available to people for their on-demand entertainment, people are looking to make connections, and that's how these fandoms are formed. And so if you're your true, authentic self, people will gravitate to that genuineness far greater than if you're trying to be someone that you are not. I know that might sound simple, but those are the artists that I gravitate to, those who I feel like are just being themselves. And I try to put that same karma back out into the world. Like who I was here today during this great conversation with you, that's who I am. That's who I'm going to go home to with my wife and my kid later. Yeah, that's the final gem of the webinar here. Thank you again, Ogden. Thank you to UnitedMasters. And if you don't have an account on Audiomack, I urge you all to create one. If you have one and you realize you don't have access to it, please reach out to us. You can email my department directly. That is content ops, CONTENTOPS @audiomack.com. And we will get you access to that account. If you distribute through UnitedMasters and you don't have access to your account, we will get you your account. If you have any other questions that we didn't take here today, just drop me a line on Twitter. I'm @DJBoothEIC, and I would be more than happy to answer them in the form of a quote tweet so that everyone can learn simultaneously.
Incredible. Incredible. Z, again, thank you so much for your time. This was incredible. And I also want to thank everyone who tuned in to our webinar with Z and Audiomack. Thank you to UnitedMasters. Until next time, I appreciate everybody.
Good night.
All right.